The gunshot echoed through the dusty streets of Redemption Creek, Montana Territory, 1875, silencing the raucous crowd gathered for the auction. Cora Blackwell stood on the makeshift wooden platform, her head bowed, her once fine dress now tattered and stained from 3 days in the town jail. The auctioneer, a portly man with a handlebar mustache, pounded his gavel against a barrel. $2. I'm offered $2 for this woman. Criminal charge of theft, release to whoever'll take her. Do I hear 3? The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Most had come for entertainment, not to bid on a bedraggled woman accused of stealing bread. Her dark hair fell across her face, hiding the bruise on her cheek where the shopkeeper had struck her. $2 going once. At the back of the crowd, Finn Quinn removed his weathered Stetson, revealing sun-bleached brown hair. His calloused fingers gripped the worn brim as he pushed through the onlookers. Going twice. $2, Finn called out, his voice steady as he approached the platform. He reached into his pocket and produced 2 silver dollars, placing them in the auctioneer's palm. Sold to the cowboy with the limp, whispers rippled through the crowd. That's Finn Quinn from the Broken Spur. What's he want with jail trash? Heard she's a thief and worse. Finn ignored them, extending his hand to help Cora down from the platform. Her fingers were ice cold despite the summer heat. She wouldn't look at him, keeping her gaze fixed on the dirt street. Papers, the sheriff barked, thrusting a document at Finn. Sign here, she's your responsibility now. Any trouble, it's on your head. Finn scrawled his name on the line, then gently guided Cora away from the crowd. His horse, a chestnut gelding named Rusty, waited patiently at the hitching post. Finn helped Cora onto the saddle before mounting behind her. He could feel her trembling against him. I don't need your charity, she whispered, her voice hoarse. It's not charity, madam, Finn replied, guiding Rusty down the main street. It's decency. You paid $2 for a thief, she said bitterly. Not much of a bargain. I don't believe everything I hear, Finn said, tipping his hat to shield both their faces from curious onlookers. My ranch is about 3 hours' ride from here. You'll have food, shelter, and work if you want it. And what do you expect in return? Cora asked sharply, tension evident in every line of her body. Finn sighed. Nothing you're thinking. You'll have your own cabin. I need help with cooking and keeping house. My sister used to do it, but she got married last spring. As they rode out of town, the gossip faded behind them. The vast Montana landscape spread before them, rolling hills covered in summer grasses, distant mountains still capped with snow despite the June heat. Cora remained silent, her back rigid against Finn's chest. I'm Finn Quinn, he said finally. Most folks call me Finn. After a long pause, she answered, Cora Blackwell. Miss Blackwell, I don't know your story and you don't have to tell it, but you're safe now. Cora didn't respond, but as they rode, her posture gradually relaxed. By the time they reached the boundaries of the Broken Spur Ranch, marked by a weathered wooden arch, she had fallen asleep against him, exhaustion finally claiming her. Finn's ranch wasn't the largest in the territory, but it was respectable, a main house built of solid logs, a barn, corrals, and several small outbuildings. A few hands worked the cattle that grazed on the surrounding grassland. One of them, an older man named Hank, approached as Finn rode in. Boss, you're back early from. Hank stopped short, noticing Cora. Who's this? Miss Blackwell, Finn answered simply. She'll be staying in Sarah's old cabin. Can you ask Mrs. Peterson to bring over some food and clean clothes? Hank nodded, though his expression was curious. Sure thing, boss. Finn dismounted first, then carefully helped Cora down. She swayed slightly on her feet, and he steadied her with a gentle hand on her elbow. Come on, he said quietly. Let's get you settled. The cabin was small but clean, with a bed, table, 2 chairs, and a pot-bellied stove. Finn lit the lamp as dusk was beginning to fall. It's not much, he said apologetically. Cora looked around, her eyes wide. It's fine. The outhouse is just behind. There's a pump for water by the main house. Mrs. Peterson, she's the cook, will bring you something to eat and some clothes. My sister was about your size, Cora nodded, still standing awkwardly in the middle of the room. Why? She asked suddenly. Why did you do this? Finn paused at the door. Get some rest, Miss Blackwell. We can talk tomorrow. He left her there, walking back to the main house with an uneven gait, the result of a Comanche arrow through his thigh 3 years earlier. As he crossed the yard, he wondered what had possessed him to intervene at that auction. Something in her eyes, perhaps. A fierce dignity despite her circumstances. Finn slept poorly that night, half expecting to find the cabin empty by morning. But when he stepped onto his porch at dawn, he saw smoke rising from the cabin's chimney. And when he reached the cookhouse, Cora was already there, wearing one of Sarah's old dresses, helping Mrs. Peterson prepare breakfast for the ranch hands. "Good morning, Mr. Quinn," she said formally when she saw him. "Miss Blackwell," he nodded. "You didn't have to start working right away." "I don't take charity," she replied, echoing her words from the day before. "I'll earn my keep." Over the following weeks, Cora proved herself invaluable. She cooked, cleaned, mended, and even helped in the garden. She was quick to learn and worked from sunrise to sunset without complaint. But she remained distant, revealing little about herself beyond her name. The ranch hands were initially suspicious, but her quiet efficiency won them over. All except for Darrell Wilson, Finn's foreman, who watched her with undisguised mistrust. "You don't know anything about her boss," he warned Finn one evening as they sat on the porch. "She could rob you blind or worse." "She's had plenty of chances," Finn replied mildly. "Nothing's missing." "Not yet," Darrell muttered. Summer progressed, the days growing hotter. Finn noticed small changes in Cora, her face filling out as proper nutrition replaced jail rations, her skin gaining color from the sun. Sometimes, when she thought no one was looking, she would stand at the edge of the property, gazing towards the distant mountains with such longing that it made his heart ache. One evening in late July, Finn found her sitting on a fallen log near the creek that ran through his property. The setting sun painted the water gold, and for once she wasn't working. "May I join you?" he asked. She nodded, making room on the log. They sat in silence for a while, listening to the water and the evening bird song. "My pa died when I was 16, Cora said suddenly. "We had a small farm near Billings. Ma tried to keep it going, but she took sick the following winter. After she passed, the bank took everything." Finn remained quiet, afraid any comment might stop her story. "I worked as a seamstress, then a laundress. When that dried up, I took a job at the Silver Dollar Saloon." She picked up a stone and tossed it into the creek. "Not as a girl, mind you, just cleaning and serving drinks, but the owner, he wanted more when I refused." She shrugged. "Found myself without work again. And the theft charge." Finn asked gently. "I hadn't eaten in 3 days when I took that bread," she admitted. "The shopkeeper caught me, claimed I'd been stealing for months. Judge gave me a choice: jail time or the auction block." Finn nodded slowly. "Thank you for telling me." "Why did you buy me, Mr. Quinn?" She asked again, meeting his eyes directly for perhaps the first time. Finn considered his words carefully. "I saw something in you that reminded me of myself after the war, lost, alone, but not broken." The corner of her mouth quirked upward, not quite a smile, but close. "And your leg." "Was that the war?" "No, after. I was driving cattle north 3 years back, Comanche raiding party. I was lucky the arrow hit muscle, not bone." They fell silent again, watching as the first stars appeared in the darkening sky. "It's beautiful here," Cora said softly. "It is," Finn agreed, though he was looking at her profile rather than the landscape. As August arrived, bringing with it the first hint of autumn coolness, the relationship between Finn and Cora shifted subtly. Their conversations became longer, more frequent. He found reasons to be near the house when she was working, and she began bringing his meals to the porch rather than leaving them in the kitchen. The ranch hands noticed, of course. Hank and the others exchanged knowing glances when Finn would linger over breakfast, asking Cora about her plans for the day. Only Darrell remained cold, his eyes narrowing whenever he saw them together. One afternoon, Finn returned early from checking fence lines to find Cora in the barn, attempting to calm a skittish new mare he'd purchased the week before. "Easy, girl," Cora was saying, her voice low and soothing as she stroked the horse's neck. "No one's going to hurt you here." Finn watched from the doorway, impressed. The mare had been difficult for even his most experienced hands to handle. "You have a way with her," he said. Cora startled slightly but continued petting the horse. She's just scared, needs to know she's safe. Like someone else I know, Finn said with a small smile. Cora looked at him over her shoulder, a flush spreading across her cheeks. I wasn't that bad. Worse, Finn teased, moving closer. You wouldn't say more than 10 words to me that first week. I didn't know if I could trust you, she admitted. And now, her eyes met his, something warm and unspoken passing between them. Now I do. The moment was broken by Daryl's voice from outside. Boss, got a problem with the North Herd, Finn sighed. Duty calls, we'll talk later. Cora nodded, turning back to the mare. That evening, as Finn sat on his porch watching the sunset, Cora approached with 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to him and, after a moment's hesitation, sat in the chair beside his. The hands were talking about the harvest dance in town next weekend, she said casually. They go every year, Finn replied, sipping his coffee. Good chance to blow off steam before the fall roundup. Will you go? She asked, not looking at him. Finn considered. He rarely attended such social events, preferring the solitude of his ranch, but something in her voice made him reconsider. Would you like to go, Miss Blackwell? I might, she said, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth, if I had an escort. Finn felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the coffee. Then I'd be honored to accompany you. The week leading up to the dance passed in a blur of anticipation. Mrs. Peterson helped Cora alter one of Sarah's nicer dresses, a deep blue calico that brought out the color in her eyes. Finn found himself checking the time more often than usual, counting down the hours. When Saturday evening arrived, Finn waited nervously by the buggy he'd cleaned specially for the occasion. When Cora emerged from her cabin, he nearly forgot to breathe. The blue dress fit her perfectly, and she'd styled her hair in a way he hadn't seen before, with soft curls framing her face. You look beautiful, he said simply. Thank you, she replied, accepting his hand as he helped her into the buggy. You clean up nicely yourself, Mr. Quinn. I think after 3 months you might call me Finn, he suggested as he climbed in beside her. Finn, she repeated, smiling. And I'm Cora. The harvest dance was held in the newly constructed town hall in Redemption Creek. Lanterns hung from the rafters, casting a warm glow over the wooden floor where couples were already dancing to the lively music of a fiddle and banjo. Heads turned when Finn and Cora entered. Whispers followed them, the same townsfolk who had witnessed her auction now seeing her transformed, on the arm of one of the area's respected ranchers. People are staring, Cora murmured, her hand tightening on Finn's arm. Let them, he replied, leading her toward the refreshment table. You have nothing to be ashamed of. They danced several times, Finn's limp barely noticeable as they moved around the floor. Cora laughed, a sound he hadn't heard often enough when he twirled her during a particularly energetic tune. I haven't danced in years, she confessed during a break, her cheeks flushed with exertion and happiness. You're a natural, Finn said, bringing her a cup of punch. The evening might have been perfect if not for the arrival of Edward Thornton, the shopkeeper who had accused Cora of theft. His eyes narrowed when he spotted her across the room. Well, if it isn't the thief, he said loudly, approaching them. Caught yourself a fool to take care of you, I see. Finn stepped forward, but Cora placed a restraining hand on his arm. Mr. Thornton, she said calmly, I paid for my mistake. Paid? You got sold to the highest bidder, Thornton scoffed, though $2 hardly makes you valuable property. Finn's jaw tightened. Apologize to the lady, Thornton. Lady, Thornton laughed. That's rich. Finn moved with surprising speed for a man with a limp, grabbing Thornton by his shirt front. I said apologize. The music stopped. Everyone was watching now. Finn, please, Cora said quietly. He's not worth it. After a tense moment, Finn released the shopkeeper, who straightened his wrinkled shirt with as much dignity as he could muster. You're welcome to each other, Thornton spat, before stalking away. The incident cast a shadow over the evening. Though the music resumed and people gradually returned to their dancing, Finn could see the hurt in Cora's eyes. Would you like to leave? He asked gently. She nodded. Please. They rode back to the ranch in silence, the only sound the rhythmic clopping of the horses' hooves and the creak of the buggy wheels. When they reached the ranch, Finn helped Cora down, but she didn't immediately head for her cabin. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "I ruined your evening." "You didn't ruin anything," Finn assured her. "Thornton is a small man with a smaller mind." "But he's right about one thing," Cora said, her voice barely audible. "You did pay for me like property." Finn stepped closer, careful not to crowd her. "Cora, look at me." When she raised her eyes to his, he continued, "I paid $2 not to buy you, but to free you. You could have walked away at any time." "Why would I?" she asked. "Where would I go?" "Anywhere you wanted," Finn said, "but I'm glad you stayed." The moonlight illuminated her face, revealing a vulnerability that made his heart ache. Without thinking, he reached out to touch her cheek. She didn't pull away. "I'm glad I stayed too," she whispered. Finn leaned forward slowly, giving her time to withdraw if she wished. Instead, she closed the distance between them, her lips meeting his in a kiss that began tentatively but quickly deepened with months of unspoken feelings. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Finn rested his forehead against hers. "I think I've been falling in love with you since the day I saw you on that auction platform," he admitted. "I was so angry that day," Cora said, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw, "at the world, at myself, at you for a while. And now." She smiled, a full, genuine smile that transformed her face. "Now I think I might be falling in love with you too." Their newfound understanding brought changes to the ranch. Cora moved from the cabin to the main house, though they maintained separate bedrooms to avoid gossip. They worked side by side, planning for the future of the broken spur. Even the hands noticed the difference. Finn smiled more, laughed more, and Cora began to truly make the ranch her home. Only Daryl remained disapproving, his attitude toward Cora growing increasingly hostile. Finn had known the man for years and couldn't understand his behavior. "She's not what you think, boss," Daryl warned one afternoon as they rode the property line. "Women like her don't change. You don't know her, Daryl," Finn replied sharply. "And I'd appreciate you keeping your opinions to yourself." "Just looking out for you," Daryl muttered, spurring his horse ahead. As autumn deepened, turning the aspen groves to gold, Finn began to think about making his relationship with Cora official. He rode into town one day while she was busy with preserving the garden's last harvest, visiting the jewelry store where he selected a simple gold band with a small sapphire that reminded him of her eyes. "Planning to marry Mr. Quinn?" the jeweler asked as he wrapped the ring. "If she'll have me," Finn replied, unable to keep the smile from his face. The jeweler nodded approvingly. "About time you settled down, though folks are talking about your choice." "Let them talk," Finn said, tucking the ring box into his pocket. He returned to the ranch as the sun was setting, anticipation making him urge his horse to a faster pace. But as he approached the main house, he sensed immediately that something was wrong. The door stood open and items were scattered across the porch as if there had been a struggle. "Cora," he called, dismounting quickly and rushing inside. "Cora!" The house was empty, but a chair lay overturned in the kitchen and Cora's shawl was on the floor. Fear gripped Finn's heart as he ran back outside, shouting for the hands. Hank came running from the bunkhouse. "Boss, what's wrong?" "Cora's missing," Finn said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Get the men, we need to search the property." "Daryl's gone too," Hank said. "Took his horse about an hour ago, said he had business in town." A terrible suspicion formed in Finn's mind. Which way did he go? "North Trail," Hank answered, looking confused. "Boss, you don't think," but Finn was already remounting, despite his horse's obvious fatigue. "Keep searching here. If I'm wrong, I'll be back by morning." He rode hard, following the North Trail as darkness fell. It wasn't the route to town, but led deeper into the foothills toward an old trapping cabin Daryl sometimes used for hunting. The stars provided just enough light for Finn to keep to the trail, but he had to slow his pace to avoid risking his horse on the increasingly rough terrain. It was nearly midnight when he spotted the glow of a fire through the trees. Dismounting, he approached on foot, his hand on the revolver at his hip. The cabin was small, barely more than a shack. Through the single window, Finn could see Cora tied to a chair, her face bruised but her expression defiant. Daryl paced before her, gesturing angrily. Finn crept closer, straining to hear their conversation. "Should have recognized you right away," Daryl was saying. It's been what, 5 years? Your hair was lighter then. I never saw you at the Silver Dollar, Cora replied, her voice steady despite her situation. Not there, before, in Helena, Daryl's voice hardened. My brother Tommy ran with the Collins gang, you remember them, don't you? You were sweet on Jimmy Collins until you turned them all into the marshal. Finn's breath caught. The Collins gang had been notorious bank robbers, all hanged after a woman's testimony. Jimmy was going to kill that family, Cora said fiercely. Children, Daryl, I couldn't let that happen. Tommy wasn't a killer, but they hanged him with the rest. Daryl slammed his fist on the table. I've been tracking you for years. When I heard about a woman matching your description being auctioned off in Redemption Creek, I could hardly believe my luck. So you came to work for Finn to find me? Cora asked. I was already working for him, Daryl laughed bitterly. Another stroke of luck. I was patient, waiting for the right moment. Then you had to go and make him fall in love with you. What are you going to do? Cora's voice finally betrayed a hint of fear. Finish what my brother started, Daryl said coldly, drawing his knife. But first I'm going to make sure Quinn knows exactly who he's been harboring. Finn had heard enough. He kicked open the door, his gun leveled at Daryl. Drop the knife. Daryl spun around, surprise quickly replaced by hatred. You're just in time, boss. Did you know your woman here was an outlaw before she turned informant? I don't care what she was, Finn said evenly, his gun unwavering. Put the knife down, Daryl. Instead, Daryl lunged toward Cora, knife raised. Finn fired, the shot deafening in the small cabin. Daryl fell, the knife clattering to the floor. Finn rushed to Cora, using Daryl's fallen knife to cut her bonds. Are you hurt? Just bruises, she assured him, falling into his arms once free. Finn, what he said, we'll talk about it later, Finn said, holding her tightly. Right now, let's get you home. Daryl wasn't dead. Finn's shot had hit his shoulder, but he was in no condition to cause further trouble. They bound his wound and his hands, loading him onto his own horse for the journey back to the ranch. Dawn was breaking as they approached the broken spur. Hank and the other hands met them in the yard, taking charge of Daryl with promises to deliver him to the sheriff in town. Finn helped Cora into the house, settling her at the kitchen table while he heated water for coffee and found supplies to tend her bruised face. You heard what he said, Cora said finally as Finn gently cleaned a cut on her cheekbone. About my past. I did, Finn acknowledged. You were involved with the Collins gang, Cora closed her eyes briefly. Jimmy Collins courted me when I was working at a hotel in Helena. I was young, flattered by his attention. By the time I realized what he and his friends were doing, I was in too deep. She looked at Finn directly. But I never participated in the robberies, and when I found out they were planning to kill a banker and his family, I went to the marshal. Finn nodded slowly. That was brave. It was selfish, Cora corrected. I was terrified. The marshal offered me protection in exchange for my testimony. She reached for his hand. I should have told you. Yes, you should have, Finn agreed, but his voice was gentle, though I understand why you didn't. I wanted to start fresh, Cora said. Be someone new. You are someone new, Finn said, squeezing her hand. You're the woman I love. Tears filled Cora's eyes. Even after learning what I was, in answer, Finn reached into his pocket and withdrew the small box he'd been carrying since his trip to town. He opened it, revealing the sapphire ring. I was going to ask you tonight over dinner, he said with a wry smile. But plans change. Cora stared at the ring, then at Finn, her eyes wide. Cora Blackwell, I fell in love with who you are, not who you were. Will you marry me? Yes, she whispered, tears spilling onto her cheeks. Yes, Finn. They were married 2 weeks later in the small church in Redemption Creek. The townspeople, who had once whispered and stared, now looked on with curiosity and, in some cases, grudging respect. The story of how Finn had rescued Cora from his vengeful foreman had spread quickly, overshadowing the gossip about her auction. As winter settled over the broken spur, bringing snow that blanketed the ranch in pristine white, Finn and Cora built their life together. The cabin where she had first stayed became a storage shed, and the main house grew warm with laughter and love. In the spring, they planted an expanded garden together, making plans for improvements to the ranch that would secure their future. And when summer came again, they celebrated their anniversary by the same creek where they had first truly begun to know each other. "Do you ever regret it?" Cora asked as they sat on their fallen log watching the sunset. "Paying $2 for a woman no one wanted." Finn smiled, drawing her close. "Best investment I ever made," he said, kissing her softly, "though you were never unwanted, just unseen until I saw you." "And now?" she asked, her head resting on his shoulder. "Now," Finn said, his voice full of contentment, "now I have everything I could ever want. You're the treasure I never knew I was looking for." As twilight deepened into night, they remained by the creek, two people who had found in each other not just love, but redemption far more precious than any $2 bargain could suggest. By the following spring, their family had grown with the arrival of twins, a boy and a girl who brought new joy to the broken spur. And as the years passed, the story of how Finn had paid $2 for Cora became a family legend, told and retold, a testament to how the most unexpected beginnings can lead to the richest of lives. For Finn, Quinn had indeed found the treasure of his life in Cora Blackwell, proving that sometimes the things others overlook are the very things most worth fighting for.